Welcome back to the Murder Tapes podcast, Season 4, Episode 10. I just got an Apple Watch to track my running for my FBI training, and it has been so helpful. I really wish that I ended up getting one sooner, because before I would just eyeball my runs at the gym and never tracked anything. So I'm one of those people that's obnoxiously obsessed with her Apple Watch. So, I literally take it everywhere. I talk about it all the time. So if you're thinking about getting one, this is your sign. Aside from that, I've also been designing some merch for the podcast, and I'm really excited for you guys to see it. Today, we're going to be talking about the Liske family murders, and I actually haven't seen a lot of podcasts cover this case, and I've never heard it on the news either. Susan M. Liske was born on January 30th, 1964 in Martin, Ohio, to Benny and Edna Morse. She grew up with 5 brothers: Alan, Bob, Charlie, Mike, and Gus. After graduating from Oak Harbor High School in Ohio in 1982, Susan earned an associate's degree from Terra Community College. She later married Gary Griffin, and together they had 2 sons named Derek and Devon. Derek L. Griffin was born on July 30th, 1987. He attended Oak Harbor High School, where he excelled in track, setting a school record in the 4x2 relay in 2005. The same year he graduated. Derek was also a second-degree black belt in Taekwondo and competed in Italy as part of the U.S. team. He was also a member of St. John Evangelical Lutheran Church and loved spending time sailing on Lake Erie. He also had 2 stepsisters named Christy and Courtney and a stepbrother named BJ. Susan would end up divorcing Gary and marrying William Liske Jr. in 2001. Susan worked as an office manager for the Northwest Ohio Carpenters Joint Apprenticeship and Training Committee, and previously held positions at Waste Management, Bergman Paving, and Superior Pushrod. She was an active member of St. John Evangelical Lutheran Church in Oak Harbor and enjoyed hunting, camping, and gardening. Those who knew her described her as kind-hearted and devoted to her family and friends. William E. Liske Jr., also known as Bill or Billy, was born on May 11, 1957 in Toledo, Ohio, to William Sr. and Shirley Liske. He had 5 sisters: Penny, Tammy, Lisa, Dolly, and Sue. William served in the United States Air Force and worked as a front loader for Waste Management. He also loved hunting, fishing, and being outdoors. From a previous marriage, William had a son named William B.J. Liske, and for the rest of this case, just to make sure there's no confusion, I will refer to him as BJ. BJ was born on November 24, 1985 in Martin, Ohio to William and Barbara Liske. He was their only child. During his childhood, he would throw violent fits and was often very angry. While at school, he would bully others and get into fights with other children. He also began skipping school. William and Barbara assumed that BJ would grow out of this stage of his life, but as we all know, these are signs that we need to look out for. William and Barbara would divorce in 1995, and as mentioned earlier, he would marry Susan in 2001. Her and her sons would move in with William and BJ, and they resided in a farmhouse on 99 acres just outside of Oak Harbor, Ohio, which featured a 1.5-acre pond, a large pole barn, and several hunting blinds. The Liskes were well regarded in their community, often noted as being a nice family, and things just seemed normal. Derek and Devon liked William a lot, but BJ didn't like Susan because she had her sons on a schedule, and they had sets of chores that they were expected to do. And since he too was now considered her son, he also needed to participate. Compared to BJ's prior free reign, Susan's arrival implemented new house rules. Conflicts arose, often requiring neighbor Mark Gradle to help de-escalate each situation. Their neighbors also believed that BJ had been killing their animals. Reports indicated BJ had a troubled history with law enforcement and mental health issues. Notably, in 2002, at the age of 16, he threatened self-harm and assaulted police officers when they arrived. Both Susan and William didn't want him to go to jail because they assumed that it would make him even worse. They thought that he would be beaten up by other prisoners and become even angrier. And this is unfortunately how lots of parents with abusive children think. Susan would give a statement on the incident. Quote, He screamed like a baby and called me more names and came at me full force. He hit me straight in the chest, somehow cut my eye, and I tackled him down and told my husband to take him before I hurt him. His tumultuous relationship with Susan led to numerous altercations, including a 2004 incident where he assaulted her with a coffee cup, stole her car keys, and tried to run away. He was charged with felony assault, though these charges were later dropped after he was deemed incompetent to stand trial. In 2007, he was diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder and prescribed medications. Schizoaffective disorder is a mental health condition marked by a blend of symptoms associated with schizophrenia, along with those of a mood disorder, like depression or bipolar disorder. Some symptoms include hallucinations, delusions, depressed episodes, high energy, and manic periods. BJ was placed in a group home because his behavior became too much for the family to deal with. He periodically returned home on weekends, but he wasn't allowed to spend the night because Susan didn't think it was safe. But she still wanted to support William. Within this period of time, BJ wasn't getting in trouble with the law, and he stopped hurting Susan. William thought that he would treat BJ to a hunting trip because of the good progress. They hung out for a week at their family cabin, and on Saturday, October 30th, 2010, William and 24-year-old BJ went hunting near the family cabin in Carroll County, about 2 hours from home. After returning and celebrating William's successful deer hunt with their neighbor Mark Gradle, the three men enjoyed an evening together before Mark left around midnight. William told BJ he should stay over because they had been drinking and driving him back to the group home could be dangerous. William fixed up the couch for him and placed blankets and pillows down so BJ could be comfortable. Derek was at home that night while Devon was spending his weekend with their father. The following day was Halloween, and Devon returned home briefly to change for a church choir concert. After changing, he went to the concert and returned home around 11:15. He soon noticed the unusually quiet house and went searching for his mother and stepfather. He later recounted to Homicide for the Holidays, an Oxygen true crime series, that he found them asleep in bed at 1:30 p.m., which felt unusual since they were early risers. When he attempted to wake his mother, he discovered she was unresponsive, with black and blue marks on her eyes and surrounded by blood. For a fleeting moment, he questioned whether it could be some sort of Halloween prank, but he quickly dismissed the thought after trying to wake them. He pulled the covers off of them and discovered that they were dead. Devon immediately ran out of the house screaming and crying and called his aunt Lori, who had been trying to contact Derek and Susan all morning. Derek was supposed to work with his aunt's husband as he often helped with construction projects. Lori advised him to call 911 before heading to the Liske home. Upon arrival, police officers made their way to the bedroom shared by William and Susan, discovering blood splatter on the walls. William had suffered multiple gunshot wounds to his head and face, while Susan was found face down with apparent gunshot wounds as well. The gunshot wounds indicated that they were all made close range, and no shell casings were found on the floor. It appeared they had been asleep during the attack, and there were no signs of struggle. While searching the rest of the house, police found a locked bedroom upstairs. Upon gaining entry, they discovered Derek covered in blood and in bed with severe blunt force trauma to his head, indicating he too had been asleep when killed, but not by gunshot wounds. He was instead beaten with an object. Investigators believed Derek was attacked first, likely with a hammer to prevent awakening William and Susan, who were then shot. The investigation revealed no forced entry, and the absence of shell casings suggested the killer had taken the time to clean the scene, and even close the bedroom doors behind him. Investigators discovered muddy footprints by the pond and hypothesized that the weapons used, including the hammer and a small caliber firearm, had been discarded there. Despite draining the pond, however, they found no evidence. At the same time, their neighbors Mark and Michelle Gradle provided information indicating they heard 3 loud banging sounds around 6:30 that morning. While investigators continued to search the home, they also considered possible cult activity due to the date being Halloween, but found no supporting evidence. The only witness remaining was 16-year-old Devon Griffin. Authorities scrutinized his story about returning home and immediately playing video games in his room for 2 hours without checking on his family. Devon detailed that when he came home, his stepbrother BJ was outside loading items into William's white F-150 pickup, asking him what he was doing home and how long he'd be there. After changing, Devon returned to find BJ and the truck gone. He would mention that BJ was very different that day. He seemed happier and spoke a lot more than he usually does. This new information, along with prior knowledge of BJ's actions, directed police attention towards seeking BJ. They discovered his cell phone was turned off and could find no trace of him at his relatives' residences. Investigators reached out to the local police near the Liske cabin and issued a be on the lookout alert. Officers discovered a white F-150 truck matching the description parked outside a cabin where BJ was potentially hiding. After confirming the truck's identity, authorities prepared to confront him, finding BJ on the porch of the cabin. He complied with commands to lie down, but withheld information during questioning. The search of the cabin and truck yielded crucial evidence: a .22 caliber rifle consistent with the injuries sustained by William and Susan, as well as bloodstains. Meanwhile, investigators at the Liske home discovered a bloody hammer hidden in a closet, confirming BJ's involvement in Derek's murder. He was taken into custody facing murder charges. On November 1st, 2010, Susan Dunmeyer, William's sister, died in a fire. Initially, police contemplated the possibility of a connection to the murders, but it was later ruled as an accident due to a gas leak ignited by a cigarette. BJ appeared in court on November 2nd with a bond set at $1 million. DNA testing confirmed his clothing bore the DNA of William, Susan, and Derek, while footprints at the scene matched his shoes. Crucially, a recording of a call between BJ and his mother revealed his acknowledgement of his actions, leading him to change his plea to guilty. In August 2011, BJ pleaded guilty to 3 counts of aggravated murder, agreeing to a deal that spared him from the death penalty in exchange for a life sentence without the possibility of parole. BJ would tell the courtroom without shedding a tear, quote, "I loved my dad very much, and it makes me feel sick every time I think about what I did. I can't really explain why this all had to happen, but I think most of all it had to do with my mental illness." During the sentencing, family members expressed profound grief and confusion over the events. William was recognized as a loving father and husband. Lori Morse, Susan's sister-in-law, articulated the overwhelming loss, highlighting their family's shattered happiness. Judge Bruce Winters emphasized the court's limitations in addressing their grief. Prosecutors believed BJ used a hammer to kill Derek before shooting William and Susan, and disturbingly, evidence suggested that Susan may have been sexually assaulted. BJ's defense attorney, Adrian Simerman, argued that while he was legally sane, his mental health issues played a significant role in his actions. He mentioned that it remains unclear whether BJ had been taking his prescribed medication for schizoaffective disorder on the night of the murders, though it was noted that he had been consuming alcohol. Quote, "Clearly he should not have been provided alcohol. That's something that was a constant problem in his life, the mixture of alcohol and his mental illness." Ottawa County Prosecutor Mark Mulligan stated that there was ample physical evidence to convict BJ and warrant the imposition of the death penalty. However, he believes that due to his youth and substantial history of mental illness, the case would likely become stuck in appeals for many years. Quote, "It seemed to be the best resolution of the case. I think justice was done." William was 53, Susan was 46, and Derek was 23 years old. On March 15, 2015, 5 years after the murders, BJ was found dead in his prison cell from self-inflicted wounds at age 29. One of his defense attorneys commented that given BJ's troubled history, his death by suicide was not surprising. Devon reflected on the complexities surrounding BJ, stating that the family attempted to help him but struggled to understand his needs. Devon later found happiness, and he finished high school and got married on the Liske property where he grew up. I'm going to play audio of Devon speaking on his family's murder.
Grief affects people in very many different ways. To me, it was no different than if somebody had died of a natural cause. It was just the next step. It was difficult for a while. My brother and I, we didn't have the strongest relationship. With that being said, I missed him a lot. I missed all the cool things my brother did. But when it came to when I turned 23, that hit me pretty hard too. It's like, now I'm officially older than he ever was. So I got married to my high school sweetheart, and fortunately, my wife got to meet my mother, and she got to know her for over a year before this situation happened. She also stuck with me by my side and helped me very much when I needed it. A lot of people hold a lot of resentment, and they hold a lot of hate, which is a very understandable feeling, emotion. I just can't. There are many different ways to deal with grief and to deal with loss. I feel that if you have, in a situation like this, if you hold resentment, that you're just hurting yourself, and being able to talk to somebody does help very much. It can let you breathe easier, let you express it better. A lot of people have a lot of resentment and a lot of hate, and I don't think that's the right course to go down.
Detective George Byington was in attendance and mentioned that he couldn't believe Devon invited him even though he was there on the worst day of his life. Devon also named his son Derek in honor of his brother. His participation in BMX competitions showcased his commitment to moving forward despite past traumas. This case is so heartbreaking. William was hopeful that his son had changed, and Susan was trying her best to be supportive. Susan's son Derek was only 23 years old, and he was transitioning to adulthood. It also breaks my heart that Devon had to find his family and have those images in his head. He probably had really bad survivor's guilt at some point, and I just can't imagine how hard this must have all been on him. As always, all evidence will be linked in the show notes. Feel free to follow us on Instagram at Murder Tapes Podcast or my personal at Annalisa. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope to see you on the next one.